Welcome back to Let's Play Cave Story. On the last part, we killed Omega, and we are still carting around this pet cartage we have right here. So if we could find a way to unload this puppy, that would be great. And luckily, beating Omega actually opened up an opportunity to do that, and this will unveil maybe our first major fetch quest of the Sand Zone. And in fact, this is the quest that takes up most of the time inside of the Sand Zone. But it's actually not too bad, although some of the sections you deal with along the way have a tendency to give me a little bit of trouble. This hasn't been, in a historical context, this hasn't been my best area in Cave Story. But in any case, the first thing we have to do is get back to Curly's house so we can save. But first we have to, go through the trial here where we go through those spinning circles. And yes, because we beat Omega, these stones will now open up for us, and the path to the bottom of the Sand Zone is now ours to pillage for all we desire. But really, mostly what's down there is just my own misery and death. But of course, we have to go down there. Who dares wins, as they say. Go back inside Curly's house here and heal and save, because I've actually taken a fair bit of damage so far, and actually I'm feeling it the worst in my experience for my weapons. Running level 2 Polar Star right now, which is not where I want to be. As the enemies get harder, it gets much harder to kill them, not just because they have more health, but because they're more likely to hit you and take experience off your weapon. So, killing these enemies with a level 2 Polar Star is like trying to kill, I don't know, Bane from Batman with cotton candy. Thank God Christopher Nolan is directing the movies, because if it was Joel Schumacher still and he heard that, he might actually try to put that in the next one. So, this curiously placed house just embedded in the side of the rock in the middle of the desert is actually Jenka's house, exactly where we want to go. So we give this old woman her puppy. Isn't that nice? We brightened her day. I like how she says, "You brought him back, I take it." Yeah, no kidding, you just saw me walk in with him. What do you think, he brought me back? And yeah, our favorite bar of soap slash, kitchen cabinet, Balrog, comes back. And for once, he's actually just all words, no action. He just kind of, inundates us with a little bit of knowledge first. We find out he's trying to get the key to the storehouse to get to where the red flowers are. The red flowers are kept in the storehouse. He needs to break in there somehow. He should talk to Malco and get a bomb made for him. As long as he can find the innards of a blue whale, a piece of juicy fruit, and some twine. I like how she's like, "Can you find these puppies?" Like, bitch, I got more important problems right now. Like, did you see what just happened? The fucking world could end. You said it yourself. But yeah, whatever. I'll find your puppies. This happens in I'm not saying it's a super deterrent from playing the game. This happens in a lot of games, and I'm thinking particularly of Japanese games. Like, oh yeah, the world might end, but Cloud Strife, we need you to dress up like a girl and try to fuck this mob boss. Whatever. It is a forgivable plot point, or plot error, considering how solid the gameplay is. Let's put it that way. A lot of people really into the story of Cave Story. I think it's above average. I don't think the story is what makes this a good game. The gameplay is what makes this fantastic. The story it's nice, it's engaging at parts, but really just the fact that this is such a fundamentally strong game makes it so good. But in any case, we got a little bit of a life capsule back there and actually boosted up to 36 health. This is new ground for me, because the highest I've ever been before was 31, even in my original playthrough of the game, as I've said many, many times. But also opened a treasure chest and found a puppy that was thankfully not asphyxiated, despite being trapped in that treasure chest for hundreds of years, probably. But in any case, I'm sure it'll be glad to be back with its master, this old woman who is so weak she can't even walk to feed it. Yeah, and now every time we bring a puppy back, Jenka tells us a little bit more about the story. So we find out that we were once a ruthless killing machine who has now been turned to the side of good somehow. Wow, a robot from the future that comes back and has its memory wiped and starts working for the good side after once being on the bad side. I wonder what movie that sounds like. This is where if I was a more advanced or zealous editor, I would insert some clips of Terminator 2 Judgment Day. But unfortunately, I am not, and also I don't want to get hit with a DMCA notice or a copyright violation, so, you know, feel free to just pause the Let's Play at that moment, and then play that scene like, I know now why you cry, and, you know, you get the same effect. And no copyrights have been infringed. So this is the part of the game where I kind of start to suck serious dick. Hopefully no one takes that quote out of context, but I'm just really, really awful at this part of the game, and find myself dying frequently. It's another one of those things where if I just take my time, I'm normally in a decent spot, but because you have to backtrack through the spot so many times, as you did in places like, you know, certain places in Grasstown, I find myself getting impatient, and thus taking damage for my own stupidity. Anyway, here's our third puppy. So what we have to do with this one is just catch it, but unfortunately it runs pretty fast, so we're gonna have to kind of wait around here for a minute before we can grab it. There we go. I don't know why the dog is running away from me like I'm the danger. You're surrounded by these like Tyrannosaurus Rex skulls that are being held up by straight up birds from hell. And you're like, oh, I'm not gonna get with that robot. Like, let's not be crazy here. This dog deserves to die down here. I guess it probably will die, but just with its master. A noble way to go, if you ask me. So let's bring this next puppy back to Jenka. Jenka sounds ridiculously close, or dangerously close to that drug 4chan convinced people actually existed, where you fermented your own feces inside of a 2-liter pop bottle. And don't even try to tell me that's real in the comments. So yes, again, Jenka gives us an incredibly important piece of information, like how frenzied and ridiculous the Mamigas get when they ingest the red flowers. And of course, promptly after that, she's like, yeah, I got some more puppies left. Can you go get those puppies? The fate of the world is at stake. Can you forget about your dogs for like 2 minutes? I would love to save the world, but you're kind of impeding me right now. And in any case, I'm harping on this maybe a little bit too much, but here we go again, back through this maelstrom of pure torture that awaits me. Haven't done too poorly so far, but I have a feeling things are about to change. There are 2 puppies left. The one we are going to get next is actually the hardest one to get, at least in my estimation. It requires you know, use of the map system for the first time so far this game. So what I'm doing here is kind of picking my shots. I'm just taking positions where cover is relatively available, and then taking out the enemies whenever I can from those spots. Like this is some kind of 2D Gears of War or something. But oh man, I really should have gone back to kill that that enemy back there. That would have saved me some grief. In any case, I'm getting a little close to it here, but I think I'm gonna try to get some experience for my weapons. Let's come down here and build up my experience now. I figure that most of the enemies are already gone, so I should be able to rack up some decent experience while I'm down here. That may or may not prove to be some pretty tragic logic. So, let's find out. Those armadillos are incredibly easy to kill, but the ones I hate the most are those, like, I don't even know what you'd call these bone-throwing grasshoppers? That sounds like an insult from the Victorian age. You bone-throwing grasshopper! And also, that was my impression of a Japanese man in the Victorian age. I hope you enjoyed. So after getting thoroughly shellacked and getting my Polar Star taken down to level 2 when I was trying to get it back up to max, we'll go back, head held between our legs, and I guess tail held between our legs as well is the more common expression, back to the spot where we should have just gone in the first place. We'll jump in through these paw blocks, which are always able to transport. You're able to move through those, I should say. Those are hollow blocks. And then we will get on our way to the next puppy. I keep believing that there's some kind of secret trapped up there, but there is indeed not. Well, I shouldn't say that. There is, but we already got it. That was where the second puppy was. And obviously, here is the 4th puppy. So we'll venture inside of this deserted house. Practice safe saving as always, and I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.